Hi, Yoni here. In today's video I will talk about a hidden threat which is controlled opposition. But before that, my fundraiser is still up and running. It's going extremely well thanks to all of you. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet or haven't had the time to look more into it, there is a website with more information about the fundraiser, and that's also where you can donate. The link to this website is in the description of this video. Let's finish this fundraiser as quickly as possible to get the 3 trucks to the 3 Ukrainian units that badly need them. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. And now let's get to the video. Today's video will be quite short, and the goal of today's video is to make those of you who aren't yet aware of an issue which is called controlled opposition. Have you ever noticed someone who you thought was pro-Ukraine turn against Ukraine? Or someone who has been criticizing Trump suddenly starting to defend him? You remember cases of people who criticized Trump but still asked to vote for him? Or cases of people trying to oust Zelensky while claiming to support Ukraine? It's not always random. Of course, some of these people just change their mind or are inconsistent in the way they see things. But in some cases they do this on purpose. And among the people who do it on purpose, some are controlled opposition. What is controlled opposition? Controlled opposition refers to a political movement or a politician who appears to be independent and against the establishment, but is in reality being manipulated or controlled by the establishment itself. The idea is that those in power secretly organize opposition groups. They do that to monitor dissent, control narratives, and to mislead the public. They will criticize the establishment but never push for meaningful change. Their actions and rhetoric usually serves to divide and discredit the opposition, and they tend to steer the public anger in directions that actually benefits the establishment. So to summarize, they are misleading the public, dividing genuine opposition movements, trying to maintain power, and finally discrediting the real opposition. Controlled opposition has existed for a long time. It currently exists and is very visible in countries like Russia, which are dictatorships, but it's also very existing in the US, which is taking a more authoritarian direction. And it's very visible online. Some of these people are using the 40 to 60 method or some other variant of it. It's a method that was invented by Goebbels. The idea is to gain the trust of your opponents by saying what they want to hear around 60% of the time, and then use the remaining 40% to push your agenda. The percentage can of course vary, but that's a method that's commonly used by the controlled opposition. There are many examples of controlled opposition, and you can almost never be fully certain, but you can see some hints and take notes. I will give you a few examples that come to my mind. And again, I'm not sure if these are controlled opposition, but their behavior just makes me think that they might be. Visegrad 24 is a good example. It's a Polish online media. It's a media that's supposed to support Ukraine on paper, but at the same time it publishes a lot of far-right content, and it never criticizes people like Musk, Trump or Orban. At the end of the day, its work discredits the supporters of Ukraine, and it also divides them. Because of that, it benefits Ukraine's enemies more than it benefits Ukraine. Arestovych is another example. He's the type of guy who will support Ukraine one day and stab it in the back the next one. Everything he does and says serves to divide Ukraine and Ukrainians. Konstantin Kisin is another good example. He uses a classic method of trying to appeal to your feelings to make you believe him. Every time he talks about Ukraine, he first reminds you 10 times about how much he loves Ukraine and how much he cares about Ukrainians, and how he's been siding with Ukraine for very long. And then he stabs Ukraine in the back right after saying that. He wants Ukraine to basically surrender, but many still think that he's pro-Ukraine because he claims he is. He's among the people who blame Zelensky, and he supports Trump, who is a Russian asset, and also other far-right movements that serve Russian interests around the world. Richard Hanania is another good example. He will often criticize Trump and Russia, but at the end of the day he will always side with Republicans. And like Kisin, he's one of those that went against Zelensky after the ambush that he experienced from Vance and Trump in the Oval Office. Going against Zelensky only benefits Russia. Zelensky has the support of his whole population, including the opposition. And changing leaders would not only be against Ukrainian constitution, but it would only serve Russia. It would divide Ukraine and make it weaker. And yet Kisin and Hanania have been pushing for that. It makes you think that they might not like Ukraine as much as they claim. And again, these are people who helped get Trump into power, and have been helping other far-right movements in Europe as well, which goes against Ukrainian interests, and they're smart enough to know it. Not all these people and medias are controlled opposition. People have the right to have inconsistent takes or to just change their mind, but these are examples that make me think that they could be controlled opposition. Finally, there's another hint that might help. If Elon Musk, for example, has positive interactions with someone who is not supposed to be on his side, that person might be controlled opposition. It's not the case so much anymore, but a few months ago and before that, Elon Musk used to have some interactions that were quite positive with some people who were supposed to be Democrats. And that's worth remembering when reading what these people post. Anyways, the goal of this video is to make you aware of this issue. Controlled opposition exists and it's well organized, and people should be careful. Do you have some other examples of controlled opposition that come to your mind? If you do, write them in the comments. That was it for today's video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, please like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to share the fundraiser and donate if you can. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. See you in the next video.